Okay, you should be able to see my screen, which is the slide deck. And as we're letting people join us, I don't know if anyone wants a snow report. Oh, it just started to peter out, but it's been dumping mountain skiing really well. Pretty excited. We'll give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get going here. This is going to cover the Telluride area, as well as the greater Telluride area and Ouray County. So that's Ridgeway and Ouray, of course. All right. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time to be here. I know many of you own property here in the Telluride area, not just as an investment, but as part of your lifestyle and family legacy. So today I'm going to walk us through what is actually happening in our market, not on national headlines. This is not Denver trends, but real data specific to our mountain communities. My goal is simple: to help you understand what this means for your property, your timing, and your long-term strategy. And if you are a buyer on this call, same goes for you. We'll start with the town of Telluride market update. Transaction volume in town remained remarkably steady year over year, despite the way this graph looks. That's actually only 73 to 75 transactions last year in the town of Telluride. That tells us something really important. Demand for Telluride real estate has not gone away. Buyers are still here. They're still searching and they're still purchasing. What has changed is how they behave. Buyers today are more deliberate, more analytical, and far less impulsive than during the pandemic surge. And I think that will be the last time I mention the pandemic. My apologies, but we do still need to talk about it. As far as pricing goes, average prices have softened slightly, but this is best understood as a normalization rather than a decline. We're coming off historically elevated pricing levels, and the market is settling into something more sustainable and, frankly, more healthy. Luxury markets don't typically crash, they recalibrate. Interestingly, price per square foot increased. That tells us buyers are still waiting to pay a premium for the right property, especially turnkey homes in prime locations. In other words, quality still wins. Marketing time remained relatively stable. Homes that are priced correctly and presented well are still selling in a reasonable time frame. Homes that aren't tend to sit. What this means for the Telluride market: Telluride remains one of the most resilient resort markets in North America, but success today depends far more on strategy than it did a few years ago. Mountain Village is a market in its own. It tells a slightly different story, largely due to property mix and price points. There's fewer transactions, still does not indicate a lack of interest. It reflects a more selective buyer pool. Pricing edged upwards, which tells us the highest quality properties are still commanding strong values. And buyers are concentrating their dollars on ski access, views, newer construction, and turnkey conditions. Buyers are not looking for project properties. Marketing time has increased, but buyers aren't rushing in. They're negotiating, they're comparing, and they're taking their time. The market is strong for Mountain Village, but patience and positioning are key if you're thinking of selling. In regards to San Miguel County as a whole, when we zoom out to the county level, we see the broader normalization trend. A modest decline of sales activity suggests buyers remain engaged, but are more cautious. Again, normalization on prices rather than distress. Continued willingness to pay for quality homes across the region, as you'll see here. or price per square foot increased again. And average days in the market, again, longer timelines reflect balance, not weakness. Whoops, sorry about that. There we go. The frenzy phase is over and the healthy market phase is here. That's our county takeaway. Now, Ouray County stands out due to a tighter supply. We're seeing a significant increase in transactions, which indicates strong activity. Lower median price likely reflects the mix of homes sold rather than the declining values, because this is the entire Ouray County that we're looking at here. And again, price per square foot, stable pricing confirms continued buyer confidence. And really, we're seeing an increase there, right? Longer timelines, again, reflecting balance rather than urgency. Looking at the greater Telluride area, current inventory and absorption rates. What we're seeing in Telluride and Mountain Village, sorry about that, there we go. Over 10 months of inventory currently means buyers have options. In this type of environment, pricing strategy becomes the single most important factor in how long a property takes to sell and what price it ultimately achieves. On San Miguel County, borderline balanced conditions, neither strongly favoring buyers or sellers. And for Ouray County, still a seller-leaning market due to the limited supply. Now, this is always interesting. One of the most important things to understand about Telluride real estate is that it doesn't compete just locally, it competes globally for discretionary second home buyers. Buyers considering Telluride are often simultaneously evaluating Aspen, Vail, Park City, and Jackson Hole, or even international destinations like Milan, for instance. Oops, I'm sorry about that. When we take a look at this slide, Aspen clearly sits out in a category of its own with median pricing well above $4 million. That market has a larger buyer pool of ultra high net worth individuals and a much deeper luxury inventory. What's notable, though, is that Telluride is the closest competitor in terms of prestige and pricing, but with a different experience. Markets like Vail, Steamboat, Summit County, they're strong, vibrant destinations, but generally offer greater supply and larger year-round populations. So Telluride's isolation and limited inventory are exactly what support long-term value. So high net worth buyers rarely look at just one location. They compare lifestyle, access, privacy, community feel, and long-term value, not just price. And Telluride consistently attracts buyers who prioritize authenticity, exclusivity, and natural beauty over convenience. I always joke that people go to Aspen to be seen. They come to Telluride for the scenery. And in conclusion, unlike many resort towns, Telluride has extremely limited room to expand. As you guys know, that constraint protects property values over time. Scarcity is one of the most reliable drivers of long-term real estate performance. Being positioned near the top of the price spectrum is not a weakness. It's evidence of demand. Premium markets tend to recover first and decline last during economic cycles. So do keep that in mind. I've seen that time and time again in my decades, several decades of business in the real estate markets. Most buyers who choose Telluride aren't simply looking for a ski property. They're looking for a place that feels special, a place that feels authentic. That emotional connection is part of what sustains this market. And for sellers, this means your property isn't competing with your neighbor's home. It's competing with Aspen, Vail, and every other world-class mountain destination. So thank you, everyone, so much for coming. Across the region, we're seeing a shift from urgency to intentionality. Buyers are here. They're simply more strategic. And if you're thinking of selling, that just means success depends less on timing the market and more on positioning your property correctly from day one. Thank you guys so much for being here. Do we have any questions in the room? I'm looking in the chat. I'm not seeing any. If you'd like to pipe up, feel free, or raise a hand. Otherwise, that is everything we have for the day. I appreciate you attending. Anyone have questions? It's snowing. Skiing is fantastic. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for coming.